They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet because they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho.
They're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
New location.
That's right. Hello, everyone. You can tell that we're... What's wrong, Seth?
You don't need your glasses because we have the big screen.
Oh, I'm so used to this.
I know. I'm
Over
so
the last
excited.
2 weeks, we've been on the little screen. It's a force of habit. I was going to say, Seth, you know that you're in a New York City apartment because of that right there.
I know. That part's horrific. But we are obsessed with Bagel's portrait. That's a photo. Doesn't it look like a stunning...
Yes, but poor Mandy, actually, that looks like it's a... David, do you mind taking that off for a minute? You can barely see Mandy. Thanks.
Oh, should I move this up so you can see an angel?
It may be really crooked after that, but look at that.
That's Mandy.
That's like, you might as well just hire the dog right now.
She's a good girl.
Anyway, welcome to Stars in the House.
We've got so much to say.
There's so much to say.
First of all, just quickly, what is Stars in the House?
What Stars in the House?
Stars in the House began when the pandemic hit. James and I started. I just want to move this over. This is a totally new location. We just moved back to New York City. James and I began this to raise money for the Actors Fund, which is not just for actors. It is for anybody in the arts. No matter what aspect of the arts you're in, you can get help from the Actors Fund. You go to actorsfund.org if you need some kind of help paying your rent, paying your grocery bills, health insurance, learning how to navigate health insurance. I just ran into my friend Brian, who's a real estate agent who donates. He says a portion of every time he does a closing, he donates it to the Actors Fund. Why? Because he used to be an actor. And the Actors Fund helped pay for him to get his real estate license. And I was like,
story.
Yeah, and now he's like making a ton of money. But he donates it to the Actors Fund. Maybe you go to actorsfund.org for help. And how can people help out Stars in the House to keep our bucks up?
Yeah, you can go to starsinthehouse.com or you can text Fund 2020 to 56512. You'll get a receipt from the Actors Fund. Forward that.
And then we can have Jax or Sis or Peppermint read your donation tonight.
Right, forward it to donations at starsinthehouse.com. You just saw that.
Donations at starsinthehouse.com. Forward it there.
Absolutely. Okay, we are here to celebrate trans and non-binary artists, as Seth was saying, Sis, Jax, and Peppermint. But first, because we were doing the show 5 times a week, and now that
we're doing it initially 14.
That is true.
14 to this to this to this.
Right.
So now we're
doing twice a week.
Yeah,
we've got a lot more to.
And we kept saying we're stopping when Broadway comes back, but we realized now that Broadway's back, doesn't mean people are working, people are struggling. So we're like, we have to keep it going.
Well, and especially thanks, of course, to viewers like you, but also we want to thank StreamYard for sponsoring us each month. We cannot thank StreamYard enough because we don't get paid, but we have a small but mighty staff, as I like to say, and by God, they need to be paid. So. So there you go. So Seth, you have a very interesting story. We've got a lot else to say, but go ahead.
So just FYI, so we're now doing Stars in the House Mondays and Tuesdays. That's because I'm first of all doing my own show called Seth's Broadway Breakdown. I'm doing it on the weekends.
Well, it's one of 2 shows you've got coming up.
Right. So I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday Seth's Broadway Breakdown at Asylum NYC. This coming Sunday, I'm hosting the Tony Awards also at Asylum NYC. But the point is, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I have that. But Sunday nights, I'm also doing a live concert series, the Seth Concert Series, with all these amazing stars: Shayna Steele, Jessica Orini, Jesse Mueller, Erica Henningsen, Shoshana Bean. So that's why we're.
By the way, how do people buy tickets? Because I don't think that's on there, Seth.
Oh, well, look on top. Look where the writing is: the Seth Concert Series.com.
Oh, okay.
You could see the Seth. Right? Do I even have a cool? Hold on. Do I have a cool banner? No, I guess I don't.
All right.
My point is, I'm not used to working. And thank God.
That's not true.
No, I'm not used to it since the pandemic. I'm not really keeping track because the point is, if someone says, "Are you available this date?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't have anything going on."
I gotcha.
So my point is, Isabel. Thank God for Isabel. So
Isabel from Germany,
who watches the show live all the time, even though she's in Germany and is always donating. And thank God, I think she was going to come in for my show. That's probably Breakdown. Regardless, she must have been Googling my name, and she literally wrote, "Hey Seth, I know you work a lot, but I can't believe you're able to do 2 shows in one night." And I was like, what does that tweet mean? And I looked, and I'm booked doing my show, basically Seth's Broadway Breakdown, or Seth's Big Fat Broadway Show in Springfield, Ohio. The exact same night, I'm doing a concert with Jeremy Jordan in Scottsdale, Arizona. They offered me the dates, and I was like, February? I'm not doing anything in February. So I just said yes. So I literally was booked. It was my worst fear. 2 shows. Not, by the way, I think I'll just run next door and do Act 2, Ohio and Arizona. So thank you, Isabel, because I was like, forget it. I have a contract. I'm going to be sued. Springfield, Ohio, they were able to move my date.
So nice of them.
To February. But the point of the story is, if Isabel hadn't told me that, I would have just found out eventually, like a week before, and I would have been like, I never would have been able to change it.
Yeah.
So Isabel, thank you so much. If it weren't this early, I mean, I am so thankful. So now I have both gigs. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, our fans.
Thank you, Isabel. Okay, so a few things. The Emmys were like, well, by the way, I didn't say our new total that we've raised
Thanks
for the
to
Actors
viewers
Fund.
like you.
That's right. We are up to $1,079,400 raised for the Actors Fund, and every penny of that has gone to the Actors Fund.
It's not like it was raised and then from that we took money for blah blah blah. All that money went to the Actors Fund.
Absolutely. So anyway, the Emmy Awards. I know there are a lot of highlights, but I have two. One. Okay, so Sis and I found out today. Sis and I have something in common. We're both from Houston, and I'm sure if Sis is anything like me, one of the big hometown heroes is Debbie Allen. I know I'm a lot older than Sis, but when I was a kid, Debbie Allen, it's like you're from Houston and Debbie Allen, that's a big deal. So to see her get the Governor's Award last night was so thrilling.
And I love the way she looks. I can't stand when people go to award ceremonies and look completely different from who they are. Like, I love her. I just think
she put it all on Instagram too, of just like her video,
great.
just like from beginning to end with everything. And as I was telling Seth last night, it's just like we're humbled to be in the same category as Debbie Allen.
Not
because
for an Emmy.
No, not for an Emmy. But the Actors Fund had announced in August that we, along with Debbie Allen and a few others, are getting their Medal of Honor. And I told Seth, if you told me as a kid that I will start to cry, that I'd get the same award as Debbie Allen in the same year, I would say there's no way that could happen. But we are. So thank you, the Actors Fund, and thank you, Debbie Allen. And the other thing that was from the and you haven't even seen this, Seth, from the Emmys, is our dear friend Rosie Perez, who was nominated for the flight attendant. And you haven't seen this.
No.
What she wore last night, incredible. Look at that. Her, Billy Porter. I mean, come on. It's like a wingspan, just like Billy. It's like incredible. Look at this. I'm going to show that again. Beautiful. It is gorgeous. Go, Rosie. That is amazing. Anyway, I had to point that out because that was kind of incredible. The other incredible thing that happened over the weekend is our daughter, Julie.
Well, not officially, but we celebrated.
We celebrated because she was in town doing Beth Level's makeup and hair at 54 Below. And Julie, right there in the middle, we celebrated her 21st birthday. It's one of several. She's like you, Seth. She's like her other dad, who likes to celebrate his birthday over the course of a month. That's right. Julie celebrated for one of many, I'm sure, celebrations for her birthday. And speaking of birthdays, our friend Maria Didia, who has been with us from basically, well, before we started Stars in the House, she was one of the people that we called. This is her as a little girl. She's a dancer, as you can see. It's in her blood. And she's an unsung, one of the many unsung heroes. She's a founding board member of Broadway Cares. She's been with Broadway Cares.
Equity Fight States.
That's right. Well, it was before they even merged. I mean, she was there from the very beginning. She was literally Broadway Cares before they had merged with Equity Fight States. And Maria is a founding board member. And so we want to say happy birthday,
so
Maria.
many charity events. Maria is always there for us. Thank you, Maria Didia. Happy birthday, Maria Didia. Best name ever.
That's right.
As if my name were Rudetsky.
So we've got bad news and good news.
What's the bad news?
The bad news is we have to cancel our October 25th benefit at the town hall.
Basically, we have no choice.
We have no choice there. It's a very long story. Let's just say that it's beyond our control.
It's about.
Go ahead, Seth.
Basically, no one has COVID, but it's about all the protocols you have to do, and basically, it's impossible at this point to do a benefit right now and follow the COVID protocols.
There's different COVID protocols for if you have equity contracts, which is what people on Broadway have, versus benefits. And it hasn't all been worked out, the complications of
you'll notice there have been no live benefits.
Right. And if they have,
they've been equity shows, which is basically a Broadway show.
Right.
There's no way that any benefits. We thought that's why we initially postponed it, which I think maybe we didn't say. And we thought it was going to be, the rules would change, but it just, they can't happen yet. There are no live benefits happening.
Yeah, I think there's just so much uncertainty. And so we did not want to wait any longer. We kept waiting. Everyone thought that we would know by now, and we don't. So I'm sorry for anyone if you haven't heard yet, you will get a refund, of course.
Yeah, I don't think we just figured it out. We just figured it out.
But I will say the good news is that we just got confirmation today, speaking of Broadway Cares, that Stars in the House is going to have a booth at the flea market on October 3rd, all day long. Seth will be there. I will be there. He'll actually be there. You're going to be there like hours later. You're going to have your very first concert with Shayna Steele, so you may have to leave a little bit early.
Yeah, it's my first day, my first concert at a concert series. But come to the Broadway Flea Market. If you've never, it's the most amazing day in the world.
That's right. Julie's going to be there. David's going to be there. Jen Weiss is going to be there. I think Margie Verdon. Basically, almost everyone who works in Stars in the House will be working that booth, and we've got a lot of extra Concert for America posters. We got to talk, Jen, about what if we have any extra merchandise. I don't know. We've got the cards from Lights of Broadway that we can sign. We'll figure it out. Come and find us, Stars in the House booth at the flea market on October 3rd.
I'm sorry. I mean, I see everyone's so upset in the comments. I'm sorry if we're not as devastated. It's just we've been kind of prepping for this for almost the last 8 weeks, really thinking it was going to be canceled, but hoping. But
we were hoping
it's not as shocking to us because we've seen that the benefits are just all being canceled. So, but I know I'm sorry that everyone's devastated.
Yeah, it was one of those things where we waited until we knew for sure that it would not happen. If you go back and look at the shows, we weren't promoting it.
Yeah, we kind of were silent about it.
We stopped, but we didn't want to cancel because we were holding out hope. And when I say it's completely out of our hands, I mean it's completely out of our hands.
Yeah.
So especially if we want to keep doing this show with actors. So anyway, we Peppermint is running a little bit late, but I say we get the show started with Sis and Jax. But before, just remind, if people are watching for the first time, we do have a medical break. Like we said, we started this in March of 2020.
Medical information break. It's not like we have an exam.
We have
Dr. Jon LaPook,
and we're not getting examined. But Dr. Jon LaPook, who's the chief medical correspondent of CBS News and Stars in the House, will be joining us probably in about 20 minutes. Thank you,
David Katz, for this. I'm just not even appreciating. David Katz set up this apartment for us. I can't tell you how great it looks. We're filming on my iPhone. I never knew you could do that. We have this giant screen in front of us. David, it's so great. It's so comfortable. And it's like, finally, I'm back on a big screen again, like where I can see the damn guests.
Yeah, Andrea Martin was here over the weekend, and she was like, this is really great setup. She just could not stop talking about it.
We have a vital question. Did James ever get his colonoscopy?
No, but I think now that New York City is requiring medical personnel to be vaccinated.
Yeah, if you don't know, James did all the colonoscopy prep, and right before he was put under, he asked his anesthesiologist whether he was vaccinated, and the anesthesiologist was like, "No, I'm not." And James was like, "Peace out, paper gown," and literally fled, even though he'd done all the prep.
That's right. Okay. So, Seth, let's get this show started. Peppermint will join us when Peppermint joins us. And I say Jax and Sis have a lot to talk about, so let's get it going.
Okay, so please let us welcome direct from Houston, Texas, your home city. Please welcome Sis.
Hi.
Hi, Sis.
Hi, Sis.
How are you?
Are you using sassy headphones to hear us? You're actually listening to something else because you're already bored from us.
No. Yes, I'm actually listening to Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay, just wanted to out you. Jax, your camera's not on, but I assume you're there, Jax. Let's hope for the best. Okay.
There we go.
Here we go. Here is, dog's barking. Here comes Jax.
Hi, Jax.
Hi.
Okay, hold on.
You go. Jax, you look like you have that amazing Instagram filter that shadows your face. And you're on mute. Wait, so it's a double, triple whammy. Wait, full silent movie, and I don't know why. Hold on. I like speaking voices, and I don't know why. Hold on. David Katz, do we know why Jax is muted? Because you're not actually muted, but maybe your mic. Hold on. David Katz. Wait, David Katz in the private chat. Refresh the page. Oh, Jax, can you refresh your page? Just go on top and click refresh and it'll come back. Do the address again. Yeah. Hey, Sis, I'll start with you.
Right. It's just you and I.
Sis, you got this. Okay, we're going to skip the Houston because I know James is going to want to hear that. My first question is, because I know that you're a performer and I was looking at what you do. You're like singer, dancer, literally everything. So my question is, what gave you the I want to perform bug?
I had to type this in today. Barney the dinosaur.
Wait a minute. Made you want to? Okay, wait. What? Okay, wait. Why? Go.
Wait. What don't you get?
Like, because you were watching it and you're like, one day I'll be a dinosaur? Like, what was it? The music?
No, Seth. I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, look at these kids like doing this fun stuff. And I was like, I want to do that. And
Are there
so
kids
it
on
just
the show?
Barney and Friends, Seth.
Okay, sis, I'm 85 years old. I didn't grow up on Barney. We had like Electric
Whoa.
Company.
Oh
Jax.
my gosh.
Hi.
Yeah, it was Jax. Yeah, it was Barney the dinosaur.
So sis was saying
Yes.
she basically wanted to start performing because she watched Barney. I didn't know there were kids on Barney. Did you know that? I thought Barney was like a cartoon or something.
Yes, and sis, do you know where Barney was filmed?
In Dallas, Texas, at the Color Studio.
Yes, ma'am. And in fact, one of my friends, Justin Jones, was
One of the kids?
or actually I think might have played Barney, because this was like 2003, 2002. Yes, so Barney is a Texas show.
All right.
Yeah,
right.
Barney was filmed in Dallas.
That's right.
Born in Dallas. Jax, why did you decide? What was your first? Was bitten by the bug?
We had an annual musical kind of thing in elementary school where everybody would sing in chorus while a couple of kids would get up and kind of like stomp out a couple of lines every couple of pages. And I really got hooked on that very early. The consistency of it happening every year, it was a big event, and then like being put in the front and being like, oh yeah, all the attention's like, yeah, I got that bug. So yeah, I guess just being in an environment that encouraged performance as part of education, as part of development, and starting very early.
That's why, man, arts in school is so important, because how would you have known that you wanted to perform if you didn't have that? It's like they've got to have the arts in schools, man.
Right. That's where the seed was.
So I was talking to a friend yesterday, a mutual friend of mine and Seth's, and he was saying, you should ask your guest what part of their trans stories is overlooked. What do you think of that question?
Yeah, this is for Roldan. Roldan, if you're listening,
Yes.
This is your question.
They wanted me to say what part of your trans story gets overlooked.
I like the
Wait,
question.
say that again?
Yeah.
Wait, repeat the question again?
Yeah. What part of your trans story gets overlooked? Is there a part of your story
by the general public?
Yeah, by exactly.
Who wants to go first?
We call this, by the way, radio silence.
I've got an idea about it. Yeah. Well, since we just met in person very recently at the rally and the march, and I introduced myself to you, and it was one of those moments where I was like, she's a star and she's like doing her job right now and she's doing everything she can. I'm going to try to stay out of her way. And it's like micro moments that I think are between trans people where we like see each other, because you were like, hey sibling, and you like pulled me in for a hug. It was so special, and I was like, oh my god, this just happened. I think that gets overlooked a bit, of the ways that we see each other in community, the ways that we recognize each other, the way that we like build each other up and support each other in these tiny little moments that we know mean so much, because we know the context and we know we like see each other struggle a bit as clearly as we can, as clearly as anyone is able, but especially because it's like, oh, I know that you're also trans, and
what about
that
you,
extra
sis?
little shine.
I love that.
I love that answer.
Yeah. For me, to be honest with you, I think that what gets missed for me is my existence. I think that we do so much math trying to circumvent somebody's trans, somebody's black, somebody's this, somebody's that we miss everything else that they're bringing to the table, and we miss like all of the magic. I think that I remember in elementary school that we would like learn how, like, if you like make a salad, you can take parts of the salad out, but if you like mix a cake, you can't take the ingredients out. It's just that one thing. And so I think that if we start looking at human beings as people who are a mix of all of these things, and that's what makes their existence special, and that's what makes them who they are, I think that's what gets missed for me, is people forget that I am also this, and this, and this, and this, and this, rather than just looking at the one thing about me that that you might see or you might grasp. So I think that's the part that I think that others me the most, is the fact that people don't see my human nature. And I think that if people saw more the nature of trans existence and even Black existence, I think they will be able to relate to it 10 times more.
So, Sis, Jax was obviously talking about the march, but so talk about that march, because we know about it, but not necessarily everyone knows about it. It was only a few weeks ago. March from Central Park to Broadway, right?
Yeah.
Why did you do it? And tell everyone why you did it, and tell us if you got the outcome that you were hoping you would get from it.
Yeah. So the why for me was an opportunity to showcase trans existence and trans bodies in one space together in this industry, and kind of showcase that, like, we are here. Even for me personally, like, I had a hard time seeing, like, who else was in this industry and who else was a part of it and who else is here. So I think for me, like, that's the main why. Yes, it was in response to Cameron McIntosh's statements and things like that, but it didn't need to happen because of that. It needed to happen because it needed to happen. And so I think that people in this industry needed to understand and see that, like, oh, wait, we have a big group of people and big group of performers who are actively participating in this industry. And so seeing us as a community, a part of this larger community, was the necessary why for me. And my outlook on it was that we were seen, and I do think we were, and things are happening and were happening prior to the march that will amp that a little bit further for me. But I will always continue to do the work, and everyone will see why, like, and how that's manifesting very soon, and I'm really excited for that.
Okay, I have to tell you, I think that interview, if anyone has not read the Variety article about the march, Google. Were you pleased with that, by the way, Sis? Because I thought it was really
good. Honestly, I haven't read it all the way, but all I remember is I think Michael was their name, and they called me that morning of the march, and I was, like, running late, and I just remember, like, cussing and screaming and shouting, and like it was so, like, I wasn't mad at Michael, but I was just like, and so I hope that translated.
Well, you would never know it. It was the most incredibly positive, response. But what I was going to say was, so you should Google Trans March Cis Variety. Anyone who's watching, and you'll read it. It'll come up right away. But there was something that you said about commercialism, and do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, when I was talking about yes. So what I was talking about was, I was saying how I think that right now we are in a moment in this industry where innovation is not what we are doing. And it's frustrating as a creative, because I am no longer just like a performer and just an actor. I am a producer, writer, creator, and things like that. And so any good creator and any good producer wants a product that is going to make money and push the envelope, and it's going to be out for a long time. And so I think that right now, with this lack of diversity, with this lack of nuance, with this lack of just storytelling told from different point of views, it's not innovative. And so therefore we're not creating art and creating pieces, or funding art and pieces that are going to be long lasting, because we are not looking to anything different. We're getting the same old thing. And why do I need to tell you a story again if you already heard it? And so that's what I was talking about. So I was talking about corporations like Disney and corporations like Apple. And yes, these are big capitalistic systems, but they have one thing that we all want, and that is they have creative ideas, and they have access to get those, and they take chances on people who are creative and are bringing innovation. And so the reason why everybody buys an iPhone every year is because there's something different. It might not be a lot different. There's something different about it. And so my hope for the Broadway community and for the theater industry and for the entertainment industry is that we start taking chances more and giving more money to varied experiences.
I love that. I love, what's that?
No, because I love what you're saying. I think it's so smart. And what's amazing is that we didn't even announce it. Jax is literally going to be in a Broadway show, which is like so incredible.
Jax's Broadway debut, right?
It's true. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the march in a minute, but Jax, since you brought it up, Seth. So Jax, you were just telling me before the show, you were in when the pandemic, when it shut everything down, you were literally in rehearsals for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, right?
Right.
And you were literally about to make your debut on that stage, like 5 days later or something crazy.
Did you suspect something was going to go wrong?
Well, we heard the news about COVID kind of backstage. We were all in tech, and it was actually the last day of tech. It was it wasn't the last day of tech, but it was our last. We were finishing the last pages of the script in tech that day. So we did tech the whole show, and that day we got the announcement. We stopped tech rehearsal and got the news saying Broadway's going to be shut down. We don't know exactly how long. We think it's going to be 30 days. And then, of course, that benchmark went out of sight after time passed, and we realized the extreme situation that we found ourselves in here in New York and globally.
You started back with rehearsals?
We started October 4th.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
And Jax, were you like me, Jewish style? Were you like, I knew it was too good to be true. Like I knew it was never going to happen. I didn't have my hopes up. I hate myself.
That's my entire career. So yes, yeah,
Okay.
but that's not different at all from anything. I mean, like, I'm a trans actor in a Harry Potter Broadway show, so none of it seems real. It all feels like fake Wizard World, you know. What can I say? But that is the reality of it.
Well, speaking of trans in Broadway, why don't we have the first trans woman to be in a Broadway musical?
And one of our favorite shows, we had a reunion of Head Over Heels in March that we saw it twice, right?
Yeah, we were there opening night.
There are not that many musicals that we see more than once. Head Over Heels was one of them, and Peppermint was a big part of that reason. Please welcome to Stars in the House, Peppermint.
Hi, Miss Peppermint.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Pat.
Hey.
Have the three of you met all together in real life? I know Sis and Jax met. Have you met Peppermint too in real life?
I met Peppermint at the March.
Yeah, we met at the March. I haven't had a chance to meet Jax yet, but digitally is better than nothing, I guess, right?
Hi, yeah, it's nice to meet you this way.
Peppermint, when we were getting...
Hold on, Peppermint, do you have your own damn wind machine? Because this is very Beyonce. What's happening?
I'm actually just, it's just a fan.
That is a...
You can't see it because we don't identify, we are.
You got it going on. Sorry to interrupt. I was just so taken aback.
No, what I was going to say, Peppermint, was when we were getting ready for the show, I came across this tweet that I had not seen in January from Shakina. This is because we did the Broadway inauguration part of the Biden inauguration, and you were part of that song, of course. And Shakina, for those of you who maybe can't see that, I hope folks recognize how radical it was to see Peppermint, an out and proud Black trans woman, featured in tonight's presidential inauguration concert. I'm going to try not to cry. It may have only been a moment, but it was also a message. We are lifting up Black trans voices in this nation from now on. It's really incredible. And by the way, Peppermint, I went on because it's part of history. It's on the inaugural committee YouTube channel. And this is one of the comments. Yes! This is one of the comments right here. Peppermint, Peppermint, Peppermint. This is like part of history. This is beyond amazing for a Black trans woman to be included in an inauguration event. Brings tears to my eyes for how proud I am of this accomplishment. Finally, you are seen, you are worthy, and you are inspiring. Thank you.
No.
And for those of you who didn't see it, which I'm sure all of you did, here's just a little bit.
Here it is.
Here it is. That's right. You got to set it up.
In sunsets, in midnights, cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife, in 525,600 minutes.
How do you measure a year in the life?
Yes, Vanessa Williams right after.
Yes.
Hello. Who's after Peppermint? Vanessa Williams.
That's right. Oh.
That's for the Drag Race fans.
Fan it.
Did you get any feedback from that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was just already barely coming down from the high of having been invited to take part. Thank you so much.
Aww.
And so I knew that it was for the inauguration, and I knew that it was, in my mind, I was like, oh, this is just in honor of the inauguration. Just like a 4th of July party. You don't expect it to be the 4th of July party. It's just a 4th of July party.
Right.
So I was just like, oh, I'm in a video. It'll play at the same time. You can go to YouTube, whatever, I'll share it. So I had no idea that for those of us who were watching the actual televised broadcast, we would see this. So when the music started, I was like, what in the hell? And I was like, oh, this is a different version, just like what you and Jax were just talking about. This is the one without me in it. And so, yes, people that I hadn't heard from in years were like, wait a minute, I just saw you in the thing. And it's not lost on me, the sort of moment in which the inauguration was happening. It was, of course, right after the terrible insurrection on the 6th. And there was so much, I don't want to just call it patriotism, but there was so much togetherness that I think many of us were experiencing. And so I was extremely, quite unusually emotional about a presidential inauguration, even before seeing, the video, just like in general. I watched every minute. It was emotional. And so thank you for that moment.
Well, Peppermint, I just emailed you, and I love that you said yes. You didn't even know. I didn't really explain what it was for. It was so last minute because we got the request a week before, and we just emailed everyone.
And I love that I plunked out the piano part. How do you measure? And you're like, how do you measure? Like totally.
Oh my gosh! But since we're talking about the video, so and then we'll move on. But the video was put together by us, Jabari Payne, Shelley Williams, Joseph Joubert, Michael McElroy, and Audra McDonald. Or did Audra do the Georgia one? I've forgotten.
You know what? We've done
because you also did Georgia on My Mind for Fair Fight down in Georgia.
I did, yeah. Well, I did
I think Audra was in.
Yeah, I did the Aquarius, Let the Sunshine Bird part of it.
That's right. That's right.
All good.
Okay, we have so much to talk about. Should we go to the medical?
Okay, let's talk.
What do you?
Peppermint's Spanish. So listen, we have Dr. Jon LaPook. We're gonna take you off screen. If you guys have any questions, you want to be like, I want to know this about COVID, just raise your hand and we'll bring you back. But Jon LaPook's gonna give us some updates about booster shots and whatnot.
Yes.
So everybody take a break. Peppermint, keep fanning. See you in 5 minutes. Bye, Peppermint. Bye, Jax. Bye, Sis. And hi, Dr. Jon. I know. LaPook.
Hi, Dr.
Guys.
Hi, Dr. LaPook. I love that Julia updates people.
We were saying
for our viewers.
Oh, there you go.
Dr. Jon LaPook, Chief Medical Correspondent for CBS News. Okay, go.
So, John, I was just saying to Seth, or we said at the very beginning, because now we have 6 days from our last show to our new show, or it's been a week since we've seen you. These days, and it has for the last year and a half, a lot can happen in a week. So, what can you tell us?
Well, two big things happened. First of all, on Friday, the FDA advisory committee met about boosters, the Pfizer booster, and I listened to every minute of 8 hours of discussion. And basically, Pfizer was asking to approve it for everybody 16 and above to have a booster 6 months after their second shot of Pfizer. But after long deliberation, they decided to vote that down, kind of overwhelmingly, 16-2. But they put in a new proposal, which wasn't from Pfizer, it was actually from the FDA committee, saying they think it should be okayed for people 65 and above, or people who have at increased risk to have severe COVID, so people with underlying conditions like obesity and diabetes and things like that. And in addition, people in professions that put them at increased risk of contracting COVID in the first place, like healthcare workers, teachers. That could actually be quite broad. What I'm hearing is, without getting too much down the rabbit hole of it, is that's advice from the advisory committee to the FDA. The FDA now can take it or leave it. Usually they take it, or at least sculpt it a little bit. So they may tweak that a little bit. I wonder if they're going to bring it down from 65 to a little bit lower. And then next week, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices for the CDC looks at that, and they actually make the recommendation about, okay, here's what we think should be done. So there's a little bit of a time left, about a week and a half before we really have official knowledge of what to do. I've been telling my patients, I can't get ahead of what the FDA and the CDC say. It makes sense from the Israeli data, which they now have 2.8 million boosters, and they found, they had a big surge of Delta in June and July. They saw a 10-fold increase in hospitalizations. And then when they started giving it to people 60 and above on July 30th, so that's only about 6 weeks ago, they noticed a 10-fold decrease in the risk of hospitalization. And it looks like, and they've moved down to the younger groups. The FDA is saying, well, wait a second, we don't have long enough data on basically safety. You remember there was a rare side effect of myocarditis and pericarditis, mostly in males under the age of 40. And in general, the myocarditis inflammation of the lining happened at 3.5 days, pericarditis at 20 days, and people tended to recover from that, quite well. So I have a feeling, what people are saying now, they're thinking that, maybe this is really a 3-shot vaccine all along. And we can tweak maybe the different distance between the first and the second booster. In England, when they did it 12 weeks apart because they didn't have enough, they got actually a better immune response. But we were in the middle of a pandemic. So we said 3 weeks apart for Pfizer, 4 weeks for Moderna. And now perhaps that'll be changed. But I think you're going to see eventually more and more people getting the boosters. That was Friday. Now you're going to ask me about what happened today.
Yes,
about
the children.
Yes, the children.
The children. So Pfizer came out with their data. They said 5 to 11-year-olds. The data looks good. Only about 2,200 kids in the group. 2/3 of them got the vaccine, which is a third of the dose. It's a 30 microgram dose. They got 10 micrograms in that. It's going to be even less under that in the younger kids under the age of 5. They got a good immune response. They had no safety data. Relatively small number of people followed for a couple of months. I think it was about a median of about 2 months that they want to have that data for. Remember, they're not getting clinical data. There's too few people to say, if you give it to the placebo group, they get such and such more cases than the people who get the vaccine. They're extrapolating, and they're saying if you get a good immune response, and they're neutralizing antibodies, we've all talked about that before. So we're a sophisticated audience here at Stars in the House. They were about as good as people who were in the older age group. So they're extrapolating, they're bridging that knowledge to the people who are from the older people to the younger people, saying, we think it'll probably be effective. They're saying that they're going to submit this to the FDA by the end of this month. That's the end of September. They could get a ruling, usually takes 3 or 4 weeks, by Halloween maybe.
Wow.
And then the people who are younger, so that's people under the age of age 2 to 4, could be by the end of this year, and then, or the beginning of the first quarter of the next year. And I spoke to Pfizer tonight. They said that people even younger, 6 months to 2 years, could be by the first quarter of next year.
Wow.
Give or take, you never know exactly. So I think we're moving along. There are 28 million kids who are 5 to 11. And pediatrics under the age of 18 make up about 1 in 4 of the current COVID cases. So this could make a big difference.
2 quick questions from viewers. One, this is a very good question. If someone has already had COVID-19 long haul, should they be considered immunocompromised?
I don't think so in their technical definition of it. This immunocompromised definition, there's been a little wiggle room with that. Right. What exactly do you mean? I mean, I think that the data that we presented, remember, out of Johns Hopkins and NYU Langone Health, where I'm a professor of medicine, was that people who had they were on CellCept, they were on immunosuppression, heavy immunosuppression because they had an organ transplant, or they had other reasons to be. Seth, you have to get more sleep.
I always yawn. People are always like, "You're bored." I just always yawn.
No, I'm not offended even a bit, but I thought I would call you out on it because
we're friends.
I let it go, but the second time I figured.
I always yawn.
No, you could have pretended you coughed or something like that.
No, not Seth. That's not Seth.
It's fine.
That's
you own it. I can be even less interesting. It's possible.
Try it.
Anyway, the immunocompromised, you're probably not technically considered immunocompromised. And what this is a reference to, I think, is the question I've been getting for the last few months, which is, the phone call. I just want to let you know I got the booster. That's an easy phone call. The harder one is, should I get the booster? And I've got to walk that line saying,
right.
Look, I can't get ahead of the FDA and the CDC, but here's the data from Israel. We think it's coming. There's a lot of COVID out there. And for now, just still be safe. I keep saying this to everybody. You've gone a year and a half. Like, we're going to get a booster. And the boosters, by the way, significantly increase your neutralizing antibody. I think you're going to find that it significantly increases protection. We need to get a little more time out. The last thing I'll say is there are people who were saying, why should we trust the FDA? Look what the FDA did on Friday. The advisory committee, which is independent of the FDA, voted down what the administration said to do. The administration was already getting ahead of the data a little bit. People were saying, September 20th, that's the day. Well, they said, no, we don't think the data's there yet. And I think it'll get there, but I think people should find that reassuring who think that the FDA is moving too quickly. And that can be extrapolated to this data with the 5-year-old, 5 to 11-year-olds. This is just Pfizer presenting their press release today. So they're going to present. They told me off the record. They told me kind of where I have a sense of where it's going to go. It's going to be presented to a major journal, and then the world can actually look at the data rather than looking at the press release. And then the FDA is going to take another month or so. They don't just look at their data and take their word for it. I've spoken to the FDA about it. They go and patient by patient track them down, one by one. There's 2,200. I think they'll probably contact or look at the record of every one of those. So that's why it takes so long. But I think that should give people some reassurance.
Well, now you've got him walking out, so you can't win with Seth today, Jon.
That's okay. I thought I heard a yawn.
No, it's our. So now we're downstairs. We have this little. We're on the first floor of this apartment building, not that far from you and Kate. But there's a little downstairs studio, which is where we put it. But the dogs are upstairs and barking away. We're going to see you tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's a pretty big show. We've got our game night. It's the Waltons versus Little House on the Prairie.
Oh my
and let
God.
me tell you, Greg Evans from Deadline, he's been always so supportive of Stars in the House. And Greg told us today, we did an interview with him, and he said this was one of the rarities that this article about Stars in the House, the Waltons versus Little House on the Prairie, it trended for 3 days in a row in the top 10 of all the articles for Deadline. So get ready for that medical break tomorrow.
Wow. I don't know if there's enough time for 3 minutes, but I did 6 years ago a piece about Landon Wilson, who was a transgender soldier who was kicked out of the military when they discovered that he had transitioned within the military. And this was 6 years ago, and it was and given the subject matter today, I sent it up to David. I don't know if there's time or if he has the ability to play it, but it's very moving, and it might be quite relevant. I'd be really interested in their reaction to it.
I haven't even seen it, so we can go ahead. We can play it. Peppermint, Jax, and Sis. Is it all right?
Come on back.
Video? All right, I'm getting the thumbs
They
up.
should come on back. I want to see them.
I'm gonna bring y'all on. Hold on, Peppermint, Jax.
Hi, everybody.
This is Dr.
Hi, Dr. LaPook.
So you set up the video, so you need to just play it and talk.
Yeah, play it, and they'll see what this is 6 years ago, guys.
The Pentagon has begun a review of medical standards for serving in the military. And while gays, lesbians, and bisexuals are now allowed to serve openly, transgender people are not. Landon Wilson was thrown out of the Navy last year after his commander found out that he is transgender. Dr. Jon LaPook has his story.
It was a command sergeant major in Afghanistan who pulled me to his office, and he said, "I need to know exactly what you are."
What Landon Wilson was transgender. In his case, born biologically a female, but living as a male. His commanding officer uncovered his secret at the end of 2013 while reviewing then 23-year-old Wilson for a promotion. He was forced to leave the military with an honorable discharge.
What went through your head as you were packing up your gear to leave?
My main concern was who was going to take my spot. When you're in a place like that, you can't really afford to lose anybody.
You were worried about your buddies, about the mission.
Absolutely.
Wilson had enlisted as a female, then decided to transition. That meant beginning to live and express himself as the gender he identified with. He took male hormones, and by the time he was deployed to a new unit with military intelligence in Afghanistan, he looked and sounded masculine and was placed in a male barracks.
What was that like?
It was the best experience of my entire military career. It was probably the only time that I knew 100% that I could focus on my job without worrying about my gender coming into play.
Mara Kiesling, who transitioned 15 years ago, is the executive director of the National Center for Transgender Equality.
Transgender people are people whose gender identity, that is their internal sense of their gender, just doesn't line up with what the doctor told our parents when we were born. Is it a boy or a girl?
From the age of 3 or 4, Wilson felt his gender was male.
I remember announcing proudly to my mom that this whole girl thing just wasn't cut out for me. And I recognized then that the reaction I got wasn't probably the best.
You somehow got the message this was not something anybody wanted to hear about.
It was just, this is how things are and this is how they're going to be.
A 2011 survey by the National Center for Transgender Equality found 41% of transgender people had attempted suicide. The decision to transition can bring a sense of peace.
There's a relief in saying, you know what, this is who I am. There's a relief in saying, this is what I'm going to do.
Transitioning may or may not involve hormones or surgery.
Can you explain to people why whether you have the operation or not is really irrelevant to you?
It doesn't change who you are as a person. How we see ourselves and how we present ourselves to the world is much more important than the underlying layers of what's under our clothes or what could be under our clothes. Gender is completely independent of your sex.
It's difficult for people to understand that a person's biological sex can be different from a person's gender. Ignorance about that has led to discrimination for transgender people in all walks of life, not just the military. And as for Landon Wilson Scott, he says if he could re-enlist, he'd do it in a heartbeat.
John, thanks. Thanks very much.
So, great job.
And as of April 30th, I'm looking at the Department as of April 30th, 2021, these policies, you can serve openly in the military. These policies are based on the conclusion that open service by transgender persons who are subject to the same high standards and procedures as other service members with regard to medical fitness for duty, physical fitness, uniform, and grooming standards, deployability, and retention is consistent with military service and readiness. This is from the Department of Defense. And I'm gonna just call myself out on something. I reflexively, when you popped up, said guys, and then I thought, oh, that's the wrong. I probably shouldn't use that word. And it reminds me of something that I want to share a moment. In 2009, I read about Chastity Bono transitioning to Chaz, and I called Mara Kiesling. Do you know who that is? She's the head of the National Committee for Transgender Equality. And I called her and I said, I'm one of the doctors who knows nothing about this. Can you please educate me? And she gave me 2 hours. I still have the notes explaining the whole thing, or a lot, as much as she can explain in 2 hours, and educate me. And I ended up doing a bunch of stories with her. This was one of them. And at one point I came down, I think it was with the Landon Wilson story actually, and I kind of did the same. I fumbled a pronoun and I got all embarrassed and apologetic. And she said something that I will never forget that was so empathetic and embracing. She said, John, you just came down here to Washington to talk to me and put me on CBS News. If I'm making you feel badly for fumbling a pronoun, that's on me. That I have to educate you. It's okay. You're going to make mistakes. You have, habits from a lifetime. But I have to think, where is this person coming from? And that was so empathetic. And I think it made me relax so that I wasn't in my head as I was talking to her. And I don't know. I'm wondering if that resonates with you, or if that's changed that thinking now. Or I ended up writing, by the way, an op-ed for Huffington Post called "A Pro Bono Primer on Transgender." My little pun on Sonny Bono on last name and on Jared's last name. Anyway, does that
That is
resonate?
the most dad joke I've ever heard.
Yes,
congratulations.
I was even more.
Well, I do want to appreciate you acknowledging, some of the language like guys and things like that. It was applicable and something that I think many people used, without even connecting it to how people may feel about their gender, years ago. Whereas now there is a little bit more of a consideration. And, while it is important I believe it's important to acknowledge what people are asking you how people are asking you to address them. Of course, I certainly understand, and I'm sure that many trans people eventually have the opportunity to learn that, the person who is, quote, transitioning medically and socially, and every other LY word you can think of, their circle around them, their support system, their family, their friends, has the opportunity to transition with them. And so that goes for pronouns, guys, folks, whatever words you're going to use to address people, names, and everything else. And so there certainly is space and a need for a sort of mutual empathy and compassion around this subject. But I think on one hand, what is embarrassing, sort of anxiety inducing for someone like yourself, on the other end of that, sometimes, not always, but sometimes there is an encounter that could be deadly. And so it's important to know that these, when we say, hey, lighten up, I'm just trying to get your pronouns and that's confusing to me. If you're in the wrong restaurant or the wrong neighborhood and you call and you misgender someone, that might not just be about the effect that you and that person have. All of a sudden, the person at the restaurant or the people on the street are now alerted to what's going on with that person. And so, that's just a little bit of the anxiety that many trans people face, whether someone's misgendering them or not. The fear of getting ready to be misgendered. Where are the exits? What do I have to do? What do I do if? That plagued me to the point where for a while I didn't even leave the house very early in my medical transition. So it's a tough thing, but I really do appreciate your this piece that you did with that. What year was this with Landon?
2015. And my first piece was in 2009 that I did on this. But I love what you just said, and I'm still working on it. I didn't mean to at all excuse it. I was just saying
we all working on it.
I'm still working on it. And by the way, as you point out, violence, I don't need to tell you, but Mara schooled me on the amount of violence against people who are transgender is astonishing. But the point that you just said about everybody else is transitioning around you too. When Jill Soloway, who did Transparent, of course, saw my piece, one of my pieces I think it was on the web around that time, we spoke, and she said she changed the trajectory of her second season to be about that, because there was a line that one of the people I interviewed said. He said, when I'm transitioning, I'm not the only one transitioning. All my family's transitioning. My friends are transitioning. And she said, oh my gosh, that's going to be the second season. And so she actually changed the arc of that and did some rewriting. She's amazing. She is so spectacular. But anyway, thank you for those words and for giving me a little more insight also into how, what's in your head. And I'll keep working on it.
Thank you, Dr. LaPook.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right, Sis.
Yes.
Okay, we were talking. So Peppermint, before you came on, Sis was talking about the march. I didn't realize, Jax, that you were there too. But Peppermint, what was your experience of the march on Broadway only a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect. Thank you. When I went, of course, I'd spoken with Sis a couple times leading up to, excuse me, and I didn't know what to expect, what the turnout was going to be. or not. But I pretty much was in right from the get-go because I recognized the importance of having these conversations and the rare opportunity. I mean, it was only, a few years ago that I had the opportunity to be on Broadway, and the conversations that were happening then versus what I'm seeing happening now were very different. And it wasn't that encouraging, to be honest with you. When I was initially, yeah. I mean, I was very happy for the opportunity, and I loved my, the cast and crew and the producers and everyone that was involved in the production and the audience, and my personal experience was good. But there were moments that I had to deal with, or that I experienced or encountered, that other folks might not have encountered, probably wouldn't have encountered if they weren't trans. And those, it was just, there weren't the conversation about how do we make room and how can we be more inclusive. That conversation was not like on everybody's mouth,
right.
I mean, really changed.
Well, I mean, you're pioneers. I mean, it's a new level of being a pioneer. It's like, you start off with women's, getting the right to vote, but that was one step on the way to actually being a representative in Congress, and then a senator, and now a vice president. It's like, who are the people? Like, who do you think? Because I know Audra McDonald says that she stands on the shoulders of women like Diane Carroll and Leslie Uggams and Ruby Dee. Who before the three of you was there someone that you feel like, oh, because of this person, I'm in a better place as an activist and an artist and leading the way for people who are going to come after you?
Or are you literally first generation?
Yeah, or are you first generation? That's a question for all three of you.
I wouldn't say at all first generation. I think there's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like the thing
we're the first ever trans people
right on Earth.
Come to us, right?
All right, Nikita Dragon.
Right. I mean, for me, Peppermint is somebody who I think that you have to bring up in conversation like this for me, because when I want to say, I think your season of Drag Race, what year was your season of Drag Race? I don't remember. I was in college.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. So I was a sophomore in college, and like getting to go on this journey with Peppermint in the sense of like as like television, like watching her journey on this show, and then also getting to see Peppermint in season 2 of Pose and things like that, and watching, and then getting to see her in Head Over Heels. And so I think like things like that, like that is a pioneer for me. She is a pioneer for my existence, because I got the ability to understand who I was through her ability of understanding who she was on national television. And so I think that it's always moving and it's always going. And there's so many people behind me and us, like even me getting to do Pose, like I was on the set with all of them. You know what I mean? Like people like MJ Rodriguez specifically, who was in this industry for a long time before many folks, you know what I mean, and exists in this industry, in the theater industry, and now, getting to be in the entertainment industry, and Janet Mock and, Dominique Jackson and all of these people. So I think that there's so many people that I look up to. I can't say, anyone specific, because if I see a trans woman on the street, I'm like, that's my bitch, and I look up, you know what I mean? Just because this existence is difficult enough. And so anybody carrying the torch and carrying the weight is extraordinary.
Jax, what about you? People who came before you that
No, I'm the very first of my no, of course,
you and Seth have the humor. Yeah.
No, it's something that always kind of pings me whenever someone's like, "Oh, you're the first trans XYZ." I'm always like, "No, you're the first out trans XYZ." It's not like any of us just like popped out of nowhere. Like trans consciousness, trans existence, trans realities. If you go through history books and actually look at what's written about, what happened when Columbus came ashore, a lot of devastation happened to people who were on this land who were expressing trans identities. Like there's documentation of us, and people just kind of like skim over and go, nah, that's not it, because we don't like teaching Columbus. You know, it's not good stuff to look at and feel happy about. So why would we do that in history class? Because it's important. That's why. So yeah, no, I think I agree with you, Sis. I think Peppermint, you're a trailblazer and you're a role model for a lot of people. So you're someone who I think of as like not necessarily like came before, because I don't want to like place you in a past category, but like someone who I'm parallel with and really honored to be parallel with. Same with you, Sis, where it's like I see the work that you're doing and I'm like, oh wow, I'm on the same like trail as these folks, getting to know you and getting to see your work. And something that I learned at that rally was I looked around and I was like, look at all the people who are just in New York, just present with like physical selves in New York. Like these are just the people who can walk into Central Park in the middle of the day. That's a fraction of how many of us are just like sitting here ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, ready to stand in the sun and say,
yeah.
We're
And for me
we're
too,
performers and we're techies and we're designers and we're all of these things. We're in this industry.
Yeah, and for me too, I think it's also like there's I think living in an intersection for me specifically, there's so many people that I look to and look up to that create my cake. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of people too that even outside like of just like the transness is like in this industry, if it weren't for people like James General Iglehart, if it weren't for people like Billy Porter, if it weren't for people like Titus, like things like that, like those are people I look up to as well for making a way in this industry. And I can only hope that one day I can sit at a place in the world of theater and have people go to college because of me. You know what I mean? Because that was what Billy Porter and Patina Miller and things like that were for me.
What was the Billy Porter song you used to obsess about when you were younger? Please say Beauty School Dropout.
No, actually, it wasn't Beauty School Dropout. When I was younger, I was a Frankie Avalon Beauty School Dropout fan. So I love Frankie Avalon's version. But Billy Porter, when I was younger, Kinky Boots, when I was like in the high school, Kinky Boots came out. So I loved Land of Lola. Like that was my thing. So, yeah.
But Sis, tell Seth, have you know what he's talking about from the?
Yes, from the 1994 revival of
There you
Grease.
go. Right. So Seth will
That's when I was in high school.
Hey. Yes.
Peppermint, you knew that one right away.
Of course I did.
And I know it, but Frankie Avalon, he did what he needed to be done,
Yeah.
Old school with a K. Hey, Jax, I just want to ask, because I'm always just fascinated, what was the audition process like for Harry Potter? Was it an appointment or open call?
I went in I was invited in for an audition initially for the San Francisco cast. So they were casting. What?
Were you living in San Francisco or New York?
No, I was living in New York, and they were looking for actors to fill out the San Francisco opening cast, and I didn't get cast in that, but they remembered me from that and called me back when they were doing the replacement cast for Harry Potter third year. So it was a multi-step process. There were several auditions. It was a lot of hard work. It was long auditions, and one of them I got to fly, so that's cool. Yeah. Just kind of strap you into a harness and hoist you up in the air and say, here's some things to do in the sky. You can do them. Go ahead.
Is that to see that you're not scared? Is that why they do that?
That's
part of the audition?
Like Pilates strength, which I don't have.
It's a Pilates test, yes. Because we all actually go on to our Pilates careers after this. I think it is just kind of if you end up doing a track that flies, are you going to vomit all over everyone if you have to go on some night? And like, we don't want to offer it to you if that's the case, but if not, by all means, fly.
And Jax, what do you consider your role? Because I saw Harry Potter so long ago. What is your quote unquote track in the show?
I play Jan Fredericks, who is a Gryffindor. And I understudy Scorpius Malfoy, who is a Slytherin.
So exciting. And like, can you tell us how all the tricks are done? Are you allowed?
I'm allowed to tell you anything.
It's rude, I gotta show this clip from Head Over Heels. This is the end of the show. So you play a mother who in Head Over Heels. What are you miffed about? Yes.
No. Wait, I'm just like, what Broadway show do we have clips of? Like, I'm trying to find out where there's video. Okay, go ahead.
You handle that kind of stuff. So you play a mother who leaves her family basically to find herself, and your name changes from what to what? I can't remember.
It's Pythio, but I think I don't even remember. I think it was Linda. It was like this basic name that they wanted it to be. It was Linda, and then it was Pythio.
And at the very end, your ex-husband says, I want you back. And you basically say, yes, but I have to be Pythio. It's such a moving moment. Like, did you hear from trans people that saw that? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. There were people at the stage door. It seemed to resonate with a lot of people. It certainly resonated with myself. And it was, it was actually really touching because that moment for me was right before or after, I'm starting to forget, Andrew Durand's character basically, I wouldn't say comes out, but really expresses a sort of happiness with gender variance that his character has. And so we were all like, this is us, y'all, get used to it. And it just felt great that this non-binary character was the puppet master, like was literally in control of everyone's fate, whether they would live or die. It was just so powerful. And it felt great. So what's this clip?
Your ex-husband wants you back, and it goes into I'm mad about you. Watch.
Thy first love, if thou wilt take him back.
As Pythia, my truest self, not Mira.
Sounds like heaven, for I do love you so. I'm mad about them.
Mira was my name.
Linda.
No, it was Linda in the workshops and in all the stuff beforehand. And in San Francisco it was Linda, and then we changed it to Mira for Broadway.
So good. Hey, listen, before we go, we've been getting donations. We haven't even read any. Jax, can you start with the very first one at 8:28?
Wait, where do I find this?
Oh, in the chat.
Private chat. On the iPad, I think, Jax, the private chat.
Yeah, I'm on an iPad. Is that compatible with this exercise?
No, there should be a private chat there. So. Do you see it?
I see it.
8:28.
Okay, where do I? 8:28. I see.
Thank you for joining me.
Yes.
Oh, thank you to the dynamic duo for keeping this going. Mark from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Peppermint, do you want to read the next one?
Yes, I have to look down. Donating tonight in honor of two trans kids of close friends of mine, different families. My friends trusted me enough to share the information, but I have always felt it's sad that in this day and age, it is still necessary to make such a consideration. Wishing much success for Peppermint, Jax, Jackson, and Sis in their careers. Seattle Susie Q. Thank you so much. $20. Thank you, Seattle Susie Q.
Dedicated viewer too. And Sis, you want to read the bottom one?
Yes, I want to say thank you so much, Jared. I'm so happy you're watching. I love you and miss you. Donating in honor of Sis. So excited to see her on Stars in the House tonight. I enjoyed seeing the video of her performance as Audrey 1 this time around, singing Suddenly Seymour at 54 Below. Jared from IO, $25.
Yeah.
Audrey 1.
Yes, Jared was my music director at a summer stock that I did in college, and I was Audrey 2 then. So I've moved up.
Yes.
So we were talking about the people before you,
Uh-huh.
your generation. So that's like a natural segue. Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, where?
To the next generation.
Yes.
Star Trek.
The Next Generation Project. Talk about that.
Yes, so I am the founder of an organization titled the Next Generation Project. It is an organization dedicated to providing self-care and mental health resources to Black and Brown trans folk everywhere. And we do scholarships. We're currently doing micro grants. We have a mutual aid fund, all that good stuff. We did a whole line of merch when we first came out. And we're going to take a little bit of a break so I can focus on what else I'm doing. But my plan is to continue it and allow it to grow. And I also have another mutual aid fund that I'm going to start up soon. And maybe this is the best place to talk about it. So this week I'm announcing a mutual aid fund that I'm doing for the theater community, the professional theater community. I wanted to call it the Dream Initiative, but it's a lot of Dream Initiatives out there. So I'm going to have to find out something else creative. But essentially what it will be is a mutual aid fund that is used to allow disenfranchised and marginalized artists and kids in the industry to go see Broadway shows. So, for example, if someone were to be like when I wanted to go see Head Over Heels and I was like, I couldn't rush, but I had to go get somebody else to do it for me. If somebody wanted to fill out a form, they could fill out a form, and artists in the industry and people in the industry who are making money can donate to this mutual aid fund, and we'll use that money to get people's tickets. And eventually I wanted to, be master classes and things like that, basically to Robin Hood the system. If Broadway is back, then I'll be back too.
All right, Sis, you have to let us know if there's any way we can help you with that. That is
definitely
amazing. That is an amazing project that is needed.
Yeah.
It's been needed for a long time.
Yeah.
Good for you.
There are a lot of empty seats on Broadway that should be filled.
There should never be an
kids.
empty seat on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Yeah.
So as we're concluding, Seth, was there something you were going to ask?
No, I just want to know if we can see anybody performing.
Oh, yeah.
Jax?
We know Jax is coming up on Broadway.
$7,000 per ticket. Excellent. I'll start saving now. Peppermint and Sis, anything where I can see y'all?
Oh,
no way.
Literally, I'm so mad because I've done so much stuff, talk, and literally I can't. You just have to wait. I'm sorry.
Give us a hint. Is it theater, TV, or film?
It's theater. It's theater.
Okay. Can you tell us the exact name of the show and when it begins? I thought I could maybe hypnotize
You'll
you.
see. It literally. I think like in a week or two.
Oh. So basically, everyone needs to follow you on social.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
What's your social name?
You can call me Sis.
Okay, I love it.
I love that.
And Peppermint, when can we see you perform besides the inauguration video?
Well, if you are celebrating, as we all are, the reopening of Broadway in New York City, then you can check out the video that's very similar that I just loved, New York State of Mind.
Yes. It's beautiful.
With New York City Next brought all these fabulous folks together in honor of just our love letter to New York City. So that's on the internet.
Yes, it is.
But you can catch me as a judge on a new drag reality TV show called Call Me Mother, which premieres October 25th on Out TV.
Whoa.
People are going to love that.
Yes. Speaking of the video you just mentioned, Peppermint, we want to thank Blake Ross, who helped put this together. And Blake was part of the video you just did.
Thank you, Blake. Gave us the show flow, everything.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Blake. This was so informative.
Let me ask all of you in conclusion, do you feel, so what month and year are we at? September 2021. Do you feel more hopeful about the future than you did, let's say, a year or two ago, as far as performing opportunities and inclusivity? Or do you feel like it could still, like, what are your feelings about that? Optimistic, pessimistic, or it's a wait and see?
I feel like, no, go ahead, Pep.
Go ahead, Peppermint, and then Peppermint, then Sis.
I do feel optimistic. I think that, like we were talking about, this is, a lesson in how to be more empathetic with people's stories and experiences. And there are definitely some changes and some concessions and some compromises that need to be made. And I guess the question is, to what extent do we make those compromises? I know that I happen to be able to talk to lots of people who are involved in theater, different types of theater, and they're asking questions now that they weren't asking a couple years ago about inclusivity, about the audition process, and how do we categorize what we're going to do, or the work, or the people that are coming in. How do we make concessions so that these people aren't, pulling their hair out trying to figure out, how to prepare for the audition coming in, or once they're in the building, how can we make them comfortable? And that understanding that, I think I came in when Sis was mentioning this, but it's really a great idea. Just like what, I'm going to look her up right now. Just like the star of I May Destroy You, Michaela Cole, said last night in her Emmys speech, you have to take risks as writers and creators and people that are putting up shows and TV shows and projects. Take these risks that scare you. And it's not that trans people are scary or gender trans people are scary. It's that our stories are a part of the fabric of humanity. And they've been telling and making money off of queer storylines, gay storylines, trans storylines, and gender and seemingly ambiguous people storylines forever. And so don't try to act like it's something that you don't understand. It's important to build us into these stories because we're here anyway. And so I do see people making more of an effort. Some of the musicals that are coming back are trying to figure out how they can implement a lot of these changes. One of the things that we didn't have on Head Over Heels, which would have definitely been useful, was a DE&I person, which I think is a position that many productions and companies are installing. Having a person who's there to address sort of on the ground concerns, thoughts, feelings, whatever, policies that are going backstage, rather than having to speak with maybe a showrunner or a producer or a director of a Broadway show or a TV show who doesn't really understand your experiences. Right. And so that's, I think I am hopeful. And in 5 years, ask me again. And let's
see.
We will.
Yes. What were you going to say?
There's something that Peppermint said that I wanted to riff off of, but I don't remember it now. It left my head. But essentially, for me, I will say that I am hopeful. But I think that also, what the most important part of this industry that I have learned in this past year, just in general, is bet on yourself too. I think that a lot of the times we bet on the industry, and as performers, we're like, once somebody casts me and gives me my opportunity, I will have everything I need. Yeah. But I think that gamble on yourself and start making your opportunities and start writing and start doing the things that you want to do. And that can be very difficult because of funding, but essentially be the star of your own film and take charge of that existence and take charge with the things that you speak about, take charge with the people you interact with, and just be the front runner of your existence and advocate for yourself. And I think that'll give me more hope if more people were at bat for themselves and found the strength within themselves rather than finding the strength in the industry, because the industry is a conglomerate of all of these things. There's not one thing or one portion that you can just go to and get everything you need. That's why there are so many Broadway shows, because there's so many stories. So I think another thing, I think that the most important part of all of this, now I remembered, is funding, is that access is such an important thing. And I think that we have to make sure that we are pouring into those who need the access rather than pouring into those who already have it. And it's very easy and difficult in this social media realm when we see somebody who has 1 million followers, we want to get into them and support them. But it's the people who have 500 and the people who are doing the groundwork, the activists and the advocates and the people that are really pushing the needle for it that we have to give to, because those are the people that are doing the work.
Sis, you know what? That it is a great point. But I wanted to Seth, because you read an article right before we went on, and it relates to Jax, and it's talking about, you read an article about training, right?
Yeah, you were saying that, maybe, some people say, oh, we can't give this role to a trans person because they're quote, quote, not as good. And you say, well, they're maybe not as good because they haven't had the experience. Like, people need training, people need experience. And I loved you saying that. But then we were saying, well, why don't they have the training? Is it a financial thing, or they don't feel welcome in theater schools? What do you think it is?
No, it's not that. So for example, I when I was in Houston, and this is pre-transition and like pre-college, I any job I applied for, I got, because I came up to the table and in the eyes of whiteness, like I spoke correctly and I did all these things and I looked professional. And so I got every job I got. When I came to New York, I couldn't even get a job at Chipotle. And this was like after me transitioning and in the middle of it all. And it was things like that the only way I got a job here was because somebody that I literally was on stage at Freestyle Love Supreme, and I told my story of my day, and a lot of people found out about that. And so somebody there was working at the circus, so they gave me a job at the circus. So it was because of a connection of access that I was able to get a job, but I couldn't even get a job in the system. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the thing that we have to look at. It's not that people don't have experience because they're not good. It's people don't want to bet on them because people are much easier giving to the people they know, and we fear what we don't know. So if I'm a white person and I'm like, oh, well, I know Becky, let me call on her to do this. No, you have to do the work and call on people who need it. Yes, child. Call on the people who need it. And so, I think that's the part, that's my thing with this industry specifically, that I'm like, we need to be better about calling on those who haven't gotten the opportunities before, and also teaching them if they haven't. What is the point? If you know what I mean, what is it all for if we're not teaching and passing the baton?
Well, speaking of teaching, I remember being in musical theater performance college and not getting the time and attention that, I think there is probably at least a portion of the energy of being a professor in a musical theater college. You know that you have to there needs to be a little bit of individualism in your approach to how you're going to guide this person through their schooling. If there's somebody who's a belty, alto, then you give them these songs. And if you give these songs to maybe someone who sings a soprano line. And so there just wasn't any of that approach for me. It was kind of like, well, we don't know what to do with you. So, here, what you want to, and it was like this lack of investment and developing from the get-go that kind of made me feel really uneasy about me paying all this money and graduating from a school that I felt like I wasn't really even getting the training. I was getting more training as a drag entertainer at night on the weekends when I was not in college, because I was able to really grow with who I am. And so I do think that training piece that Jax was mentioning in the article, and really investing in these theater students, if you see someone who's, theater's programs are being cut left and right. So if you have a student who, I don't care who they are or how they identify, if they are coming to you and they're interested in the least bit interested in theater, you need to pour all the love and everything in them. Right. Let them do whatever role they want to do. That's right. Give them the outfit, get them up on stage.
Absolutely. Jackson, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, you started it.
Just that it feels really good to have the two of you standing next to me on it. That's cool. That feels really nice. I think what I was kind of getting at in that is that you can't just say like, this person doesn't seem well trained, or like they don't seem like they have the same caliber of training, or I don't see the training there, whatever. If they have the talent, take a risk on them.
Right.
if you see talent, and you should see talent if you're in casting, if you're a director, if you're producing, that should be on your special skills. If you see talent and you're like, I see it, and you're like, all it needs is a little bit of like, this person could be nourished, and in what way, and what need can I fill for them to be comfortable on set or in this theater production of mine, like whatever the thing is you're doing. If you see their talent and you recognize that there is something that can be done to make it expansive, to grow and nourish that person in that talent, and somehow help them along the way, not from a perspective of like, I can save this person, but in a perspective of like, this is the right choice for my show, for my project. This is the right fit. It doesn't matter if they went to school. It doesn't matter if they have the pedigree. It doesn't matter if they have a doctorate. If they are the right fit, they're the right fit. And it's your job to make it work.
Yeah.
It's your job to find out what the needs are underneath that.
Yeah. Don't be lazy. So what? Change the key. And rewrite the thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I say, and that's the part where I say, in tandem with that, you also, for me, speaking for myself, I had to show people a lot of the times what they were missing out on. And that too, when people see that tenacity, and people don't always have to have that, but showing people that, and betting on myself, saying I am the one, and I don't care if you don't see it, but I see it for myself, and I'm going to go forward being that. That's the power that I want to instill in the next generation of anybody that looks up to me, showcasing that you are the one because you are here, and you can't be nowhere else. You know what I mean?
How about the previous generation? You're inspiring me.
Period. Well, y'all's generation can be a lost cause sometimes. So Seth, I kind of, I give up there, but I'm happy you're here listening.
I'm the exception to the rule.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Peppermint. Thank you, Jax, and thank you, Sis. This has been a wonderful evening, and thank you everyone who's been watching.
Yeah, if you get a chance, read all the comments, because there's so many lovely comments about everyone that's been here tonight. So it's really, really moving. Tomorrow night, we have a really vicious face-off between the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie. It's really a fight to the death. So please comment support.
See, Seth, why you all got the cast of Good Times?
Right here?
I said, why you ain't got this cast of Good Times?
Oh my God. By the way, we tried to get
we actually tried. That was one of Seth's favorite shows. Sis, stay on. We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, we have stories.
We got stories. That's all I can say.
I'm just kidding. See, John, never mind. That's shit.
Sis, you got me to talk way too much. You should not have done that.
Okay, your mic's on.
It's I know it is. I'm looking at Sis right now.
Okay.
Sis, you already got me in trouble. I got literally to the end of the show.
You didn't reveal anything though.
And then right before.
But just Google it, people.
No, but then they'll get the idea.
Oh, don't Google it. Well, Sis already said I was a lost cause.
Well.
So guess what?